Welcome to the second episode of ISPC Tailboard Talks. I'm your host, Mark, along with my co-host, Jerry. How you doing today, Jerry?
Good, Mark. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going here. I think I've been from north to south 3 times already in January, so definitely building up my frequent flyer miles. So,
But at least we did get to play golf one day since the turn of the year, before all the rain.
first time I played golf in January in a long time, so that was a good thing. And
Before we get too far, we got to tell you our second episode of Tailboard Talks, again sponsored by T&D PowerSkills. We'll talk more about those guys later. Take back control of your training, message delivery, and cost. T&D PowerSkills, your sponsor for Tailboard Talks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Yep, we appreciate everything T&D PowerSkills does for us and does for this podcast. And
dare I say,
glad to have you guys on board. Okay, so episode number 2. So a couple things I want to touch on. So I'm going to talk about some of ISPC's highlights here over the last month. And so I don't think we did this on the first episode, but I kind of want to just call out the folks that work for ISPC on a daily basis and kind of run all over the country and visit our customers. So first off, we have our executive director, Mac Turner. You have myself, Mark Forster, director of operations. We have Mr. Jim Vaughn. A lot of you out there who are familiar with our industry know Jim very well. Jim's one of our senior consultants. We also have Mr. Dan Taylor, who is another one of our senior consultants. He kind of resides out on the West Coast. And then from time to time, we also have Mr. Tony Boyd, who is actually an employee of SMI. We'll talk a little bit about that later when we talk to Ron. But he quite frequently helps us out as a consultant as well. So that's kind of that way I don't have to spell out names all the time. You'll hopefully know when I say Jim or Tony or whoever. So just a couple highlights from the month of January here.
Yeah, ISPC's bullpen is super deep too, Mark.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. A good point, Jerry. So I just really named the full-time people, right?
Right.
And we have a lot of what we call affiliated consultants that do this part-time. I was one of those up until just last November. Shout out to those guys as well. I mean, we have a wide array of part-time folks that help us out when we get really busy, or if we need some specialty type stuff. We can call in our, I guess you could call it bullpen, right?
Yeah.
And go to our relievers and get them in here and give us a hand when we need so. So yeah, thanks for that reminder, Jerry. Before we get 2 other things we do have a special guest today. We got a couple other things we're going to touch on before we get to our guest, but we probably should have mentioned this a little earlier just to kind of keep people on the line, right, so that they don't go anywhere. But our special guest today is our own Mr. Ron Schenk, owner and founder of ISPC and T&D PowerSkills, and now as well SMI. And so coming up shortly, we'll be talking with Ron and kind of getting some of his background and how all this started and what we do and what his vision is for the future and some other things. So stick around. You're not just going to hear Jerry and I yapping back and forth here. We got some real intelligence coming up on the latter half of this podcast. So stick around for that. Again, our owner and founder, Mr. Ron Schenk. So that'll be coming up here shortly. Jerry, I wanted to touch on last week an article showed up on my LinkedIn feed from the Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor, and it was a post stating that they're announcing a $12 million funding opportunity for organizations to provide training and employment services for our to help combat veteran homelessness. And I think we can all agree that we as a country sometimes don't do enough for our veterans. I know both of us, as well as Ron, who's going to join us in a little bit, are all veterans. So this is kind of near and dear to our heart here, and I have a real soft spot and place in my heart for veterans. I come from a line of veterans. My dad was a veteran. His dad was a veteran, and so this is great to see. This is one step, in the right direction to help our veterans. We know this isn't a one stop shop here that's going to fix everything, but I just want to kind of touch on this a little bit, and if people didn't see it, maybe this is another platform we can get it out there. But basically the homeless veterans reintegration program is awarding these grants. Each organization could be awarded up to a maximum of $600,000 annually for up to 3 years. So that's a total of almost $2 million to help deliver occupational skills training, support participation in apprenticeship programs and other on-the-job training opportunities, and also to help with employment placement assistance. So just wanted to give a shout out to this. I know, again, us being veterans, this is something that's near and dear to our heart.
Yeah, and Mr. Ron is a Vietnam veteran, and so is my dad. So I'm a third generation vet. My son is a fourth. He's in the Air Force now. I'm extremely thankful for the vets and for and I'm very proud of our country. Number one, I don't think 12 million is enough, personally, but I think it's actually the second step. What this is proposed should be the second step. The first step needs to be mental health care for returning vets, but before and after they ETS out of the service, reintegration help. Just making sure that there is somebody to talk to. Now, there is the VA does offer all of that, but I think we do a lot more now for the vets than the Vietnam era vets. Mr. Ron, you came back to nothing really, right?
Yeah, Jerry, that's pretty much correct. And actually, most of the Vietnam veterans at the time, because of the attitude of many Americans about that war and really some misconceptions about the veterans that served over there, um, most vets coming back from Vietnam would just as soon forget about it anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
so the attitude was, did that, keep it behind me. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I want to get back to the world and get on with my life. So at that time, it wasn't as concerning, other than the animosities. Nobody likes that. But the mental side of it, as you mentioned, human beings are not set up to forget things very long. And you can say, I'm fighting in a war and all the terrible things that go along with that, and I'm just going to forget it. But you don't. And the question is, when is it going to come back? When is it going to reoccur? When are you going to remember? And how is it going to affect you at that point? So we had Vietnam veterans had some delayed reactions that maybe to this day are affecting some of those veterans. So, I think all the programs that Uncle Sam can come up with um, are ones that are needed and will continue to be needed on into the future. So glad to see all this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are a training or a school, there's a list at this article that who is available to help with this, sort of nonprofit and for-profit organizations, faith-based groups, Native American tribal governments, state and local workforce development boards, state and local government agencies, and also higher education institutions, including historically black colleges and universities and Hispanic serving institutions are eligible to apply for a piece of this $12 million grant. So if you are in the business or in the service of teaching line work and teaching linemen and teaching skills, this may be something for you to check out. So you can find the article by going on to LinkedIn and finding Mark Forster, Forster, or ISPC. Mark, it should show up Mark's stuff on there, and then click on that link. This is a great article, and $12 million is a great start. But again, don't if you have the means to help in other areas, um, start here and then branch out. Become that tree of hope and learning and health and welfare and well-being for people. But I'm a huge fan of this program. I think it's step number 2 though. So if you are a veteran, thank you for your service. If you're not a vet and you want to help out, you know, just reach out. There's tons of areas in your community that you can help in.
Yeah. Cool. No, I got it. And again, I echo both Ron and Jerry's sentiments. For all you veterans out there, appreciate everything you've done for us and everybody else. And any chance I get that I can help or advocate, I'm going to do so. So awesome. Well, just wanted to kind of touch base on that and let everybody know it's out there. If you didn't see it, again, you can go to our LinkedIn page, search myself or search Institute for Safety and Powerline Construction. It's on our page. The link's there. You can go check it out for yourself. So, okay. ISPC Tailboard Talk topic. Our topic for today, we're going to have a tailboard topic near and dear to our name and our purpose here in the industry. And so today our topic's going to be called the framework. And essentially, I'm going to talk about the framework of our tailboards or our job briefings. And so I'm just going to touch on what that looks like in the eyes of OSHA. And we're not going to dive a whole lot into it today. We're going to kind of leave that open-ended, and in future episodes, we'll dissect that and jump into it a little more in depth. But I just wanted to take a couple minutes and tailboard or job briefing, whatever your company calls it, is something that is required of us by OSHA. It comes into play in 1910-269 Charlie. Is where the job briefing is detailed in OSHA's regulations. And then there's a couple categories there. There's before each job. There's subjects to be covered. There's numbers of briefings, extent of briefing, and it also touches on lone workers. So again, I'm not going to dive into a whole lot of this today. Essentially, but what we need to do is before each job, we need to conduct a tailboard, right? And so OSHA says that the 5 things that we must cover in that job briefing are hazards associated with the job, our work procedures involved with the job we're about to do, any special precautions, energy source controls, as well as personal protective equipment, PPE. So those are the things that we have to talk about. A lot of companies' tailboards, I've seen a pretty decent amount of them, go way more into detail than that, and that is great. The one thing that I'm just going to kind of touch on today, and we'll dive into in further episodes, is the framework, or how you set that job briefing or that tailboard discussion, and that's what it really should be, is a discussion. I've worked for companies, I've supervised in companies, and one of the worst things that tends to happen out there, and I see it a lot, is the person in charge of the job is the one completing the job briefing or the tailboard, has a quick conversation with the rest of the crew, and everybody sort of nods their heads and they go about their business. And that's really just doing a disservice to our people. We really need to, this should be a conversation with every single person that's going to be involved in the job, so that everybody understands what each other is doing, what's going to be going on around them, what the hazards are, that could affect them by somebody else doing some other task within the work area or the work
Secondary
zone,
causation.
right? And if you're not having that conversation, you just can't have that level of detail. And so, the other thing I find too that I just want to touch on here quickly is I hear probably 8 out of 10 crews tell me that the person in charge of the job has to do the tailboard or do the job briefing, and that's just not the case, right? That person in charge is in charge of ensuring that a job briefing is completed, but there's nothing wrong with getting your other people involved, right? And so, very good way to get your less experienced, less tenured employees involved in the job and thinking about the job and recognizing hazards and all that type of stuff, sharing information with the rest of their work group. At the end of the day, OSHA just says that, hey, it's the responsibility of that person in charge to make sure it's done. It says nowhere in there that has to be the person that does the job brief. And so, I'm kind of going to let it there. If you guys have anything you want to add to that, by all means. And like I said, we're going to kind of jump into each portion of that as we go down the road here in future podcasts.
I've been fortunate enough when we've gone on video shoots or update shoots for T&D PowerSkills, that we still have to do these jobs. We still have to do a tailboard. It is essential no matter what, because I am especially in that zone with them too. So we all have to know the hazard. So it's part of the job still. Fortunately, all of our update partners that I've been with have had rotating people do the tailboards. The young guys, the journeyman, the apprentice. I mean, you could be a first year apprentice and you're still up to do the tailboard, which is phenomenal, because everything that we do now prepares us to be a better mentor later. So if we learn it now and we learn it correctly. One thing that I have also seen, the copy and paste tailboard. It's the same job you did yesterday and the same job you did the day before that, but things have still changed. The job may still be the same, but there are external factors. The ground could be a little muddier. The humidity could be a little higher. Things.
Traffic.
Traffic.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Take the tailboard seriously, and don't, as tempted as you may be to copy and paste from yesterday because you're still doing the same thing. Take into account, yes, these are still here. These things are still here, but these are also here. This is not here anymore. There are things that have changed, and maybe have changed dramatically and drastically. So you have to take those into account as well. It's
perfect.
You can think of it, if you're doing the job, familiarity breeds complacency. And I'll say this 100 times, we become so familiar with something, we become complacent in doing it. Which if you're a grocery store stocker, that's not going to kill you. There are a lot of industries that, complacency will kill you in a heartbeat. This is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Let's talk about our sponsor real quick. And we were talking about, how things change. Well, these days, safety and training managers are at a loss about how to control their line worker training programs, especially if you're spread thin. The new technology, everything is coming up. Things are changing fast, and you need a solution that has the flexibility to keep up. T&D PowerSkills is a comprehensive 78-unit curriculum designed with the adult learner in mind. Control your message by customizing the program to meet your needs and your training yard specs. Control your delivery with the flexibility to scale from a single unit refresher training to a fully DOL certified 8,000-hour apprenticeship program. And you control your cost with flexible delivery models for companies with just a few crews, all the way up to large utilities, contractors, and associations. Courseware is also available for your own third-party enterprise learning management system and through traditional DVD training models as well. One thing I absolutely love about this is because of how it's built, your line workers absorb the info that they need through the video, through the workbooks, the section quizzes, and the final exams. And then with our custom field performance requirements checklist, you get to go out there in the training yard and really put your hands on. And I love to see that happen when it clicks, when you get out there in the yard and everybody clicks and figures out, oh yeah, this is what this part did, and this is what this part did. If you want to learn more, visit me online at tdpowerskills.com, tdpowerskills.com. Use the referral code Tailboard2024 and get an exclusive podcast listener 5% discount. Ooh, I like that. Discounts are always great. Tailboard 2024. Go to tdpowerskills.com.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, we've finally gotten here. Next up, we're going to talk with our guest today. Again, one of our own. Well, the reason we're all here, quite frankly. Again, our guest today, Mr. Ron Schenk, owner and founder of our three companies, originally ISPC, and then it has grown from there. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Ron Schenk. How you doing, Ron?
Doing great. Appreciate the opportunity, guys. After listening to all that you've been involved in, I think you're finally earning your wages.
Nice. Positive reinforcements, right?
Go.
So,
no,
that's awesome.
You guys are always busy and looking to take on more. So really proud of our companies and the work that you guys do every day.
So let's jump right in here and kind of have a discussion here. So I guess first of all, Ron, tell us kind of how'd you get here, about you, like a little bit about your background, kind of what led you into the line worker industry, and kind of what led you to where we are today with these three companies.
Most people, when they decide they want to start a business, Mr. Ron, do not start with a nonprofit 501c3. Let me just throw that out there. ISPC is a not-for-profit. Why did you want to start a non-for-profit?
Well, the rationale, I had, by 2004, I had been in the industry helping with training and other things with major contractors, and had recognized a poor performance in safety, in keeping the workers safe out there. I had experienced with the company that I was with 10 fatalities and innumerable injuries. And as you guys know, an injury in this industry is not a cut on the finger. It's often debilitating, life-changing, arm-removing, foot-removing injuries that impact individuals and people if they survive. So it got to a point, I think, with me that I kind of told myself, um, if I can ever do something in my career to help stop fatalities, minimize injuries in this industry, I'm going to do it. And as all of us adults know, be careful what you ask for, because you might get a chance to do it and then be held up responsible for what you do next. So in 2004, that opportunity came for me. The company that I was working with, large contractor, was acquired by another large contractor, our competitor. And I had an opportunity to either move over to the new holding company or to move on and do something else. And after long discussions with my wife, Wanda, about what we do from here, where we go from here, we decided that I would take the I guess training, the insights, the things that I had learned about training and safety in the industry in that prior 10 years, and see if I couldn't leverage that, expand on that, and help the industry where it absolutely needed help. I mean, today we look back on the 70s, 80s, and 90s in our industry and are appalled at the fatalities and the injuries and the lack of concern for safety out there. But it was absolutely there. And the attitude was generally, this is dangerous work. You guys that do it need to pay attention and figure out how to keep yourself safe. Well, that's silly, obviously, that for employees to maintain safety, to be safe themselves, they need to be trained, they need to understand the hazards involved, they need to know what it takes to mitigate those hazards, they need to have the supervisory support to do that every day, day in and day out. And it's only come about that has only come about through hard work of many in the industry that have recognized we can't continue like we had. So in 2004, as Jerry said, we decided to start with ISPC, the Institute for Safety and Powerline Construction. And the reason we started with that organization and chose a nonprofit status was because we felt like being a nonprofit industry association, ISPC would gain credibility in the industry quickly. Obviously, whether you're a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, you have to run as a business and you have to be business savvy to continue in business. We recognized that early on, but we still feel like today that ISPC has credibility in the industry as a nonprofit association because of its nonprofit status. Further emphasizing that the reason that we're here is not to make profits, not to glean profits from an industry that sorely needs attention, but to truly, in our hearts, come to help the industry in training and safety. So ISPC was created in 2004.
And we talked earlier about the depth of the bullpen and what, all the travel and stuff that y'all are doing. ISPC can offer that training from the very front of a brand new apprentice to the leadership side of it, to make sure that once they become that mentor, that they're passing on, or how to become a mentor, how to pass on that knowledge that you've gained in the industry. This is a very, to me, this is a very small industry. And I don't necessarily know if that's the case, or if I just am you look at other industries that nobody knows somebody in the next state over that's in the same industry. In this industry, it seems like we all kind of know each other. Or at least the people that I'm around. That you go to conferences to see your friends and to learn things.
Yeah, I tell you, Jerry, that fact that you just enumerated, I saw as an opportunity to help us jumpstart ISPC. The 10 years that I had spent in the industry prior to 2004 put me in contact with a lot of people in our small industry. And as you've said, everybody knows everybody, or if you don't know them, you know somebody that does.
Mhm.
It's a very close relationship, and there's something in a camaraderie kind of way for line workers in our industry and people that participate in it that it's a little bit akin to service members being in the service
Absolutely.
and the attitude that you have about your buddy. It's a similar attitude. So in 2004, I knew that I could begin to leverage some of the relationships that I had developed in the industry to jumpstart ISPC, and that was a big help.
So what can people expect now, Mark? I'm gonna ask both you and Mr. Ron this. What can members expect from ISPC? So it's a member driven organization. So it's a nonprofit. So first and foremost, if you decide to become a member, it's tax deductible. Your membership dues are tax deductible. But as a member, let's say I'm Joe Contractor or Jane Municipality or Co-op. What can I expect from ISPC? What was your initial vision, Mr. Ron? And then what has it morphed into? Something bigger and
Well,
better.
the initial mission statement of ISPC continues to be that, and that's to focus exclusively on safety and training for line workers. The thing that I knew in 2004 was that you got a lot of organizations out there that support associations that support the industry. But there was no organization that focused exclusively on safety and training for the line worker. There are organizations that helped out power line companies, organizations for utilities, organizations for co-ops, for municipals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there was nothing exclusively for advocating for safety and training for the line worker. And that's the niche that I saw ISP fitting in. Now the vision then became one of the obvious things about the lack of safety was also the lack of training. Go hand in hand. You've got to have great training to have great training safety. So we knew that pretty quickly we were going to need to develop and offer a training program for line workers, basically an apprenticeship program that covered all of the bases relative to not just the technical performance of the trade, but safety aspects of the trade as well. So we started work on that immediately, and in 2007, introduced T&D PowerSkills to the industry. Mark, you want to expand on the other things we do?
Yeah. So, obviously, with me being a little bit newer to the organization here and now a full time employee at ISPC, besides the T&D Power Skills lineman curriculum, we're in the process of developing a metering curriculum, a substation curriculum, a transmission curriculum, a heavy equipment operator curriculum. And so we're expanding our platform of offerings to better serve the industry, yet they're all still geared towards that initial vision, mission, and vision of ISPC to advocate for training and safety at the worker level. Now, obviously, we normally have to partner with companies or organizations to get to that worker level, but the meat and potatoes of all our programs are really to benefit the worker. And, I think Jerry asked kind of what we feel we bring to the table as ISPC. I really see us moving forward and continuing to build partnerships. Right, it's all about those partnerships in the industry and working with the customers that we work with to form a partnership. I mean, yes, we can go in and do a 2 or 3 day training and walk out the door and never see that customer again. And we'll still offer those type of offerings. But I think where we really want to go as an organization is to develop those long-term partnerships where we can build a systematic approach, right? Figure out where the gaps are, where the missing pieces are, and help organizations close those gaps. And it's not going to happen on a 2 or 3 day training one time and we're gone. There's no golden nickel here or anything, right? This is a long-term journey, and we want to be part of that journey with you. And that's really what we're looking to build in the industry.
And safety and training is kind of like tectonic plates. I mean, they're moving and shifting it, all the time. So you end up with these crevasses, these holes or gaps in your training that you don't see coming, that you don't realize until you're like, oh wow, we have these. Having somebody like ISPC in your back pocket, in the bullpen with their deep bullpen to boot, it doesn't matter what that gap turns out to be. You have a partner with you that says, okay, well, we have somebody that can help fill this gap. And being an outside third party agency, it's always like when we were kids growing up, my mom said, why don't you ever listen to us like you listened to the neighbors when you were over, playing at their house? Well, you never do. It's you never listen to home like you listen to somebody else telling you. It's reinforcing that message. And that's one of the great things that I see, one of the values that I see above all with ISPC is you have these industry experts available at any time. And it's not us saying, oh, we're industry experts. We're out there, you can ask anybody who's ever heard Jim Vaughn speak on grounding if the man knows what he's talking about, he's look, the first time I ever heard Jim Vaughn speak on grounding was we were at an incident prevention conference and Jim's session started. Now, these are hour-long sessions, and he had the session right before lunch and right after lunch. Okay, it was a 2-part session. Well, something had happened and the alarm went off in the hotel and they evacuated everybody. So we were out there until they cleared the alarm. Well, it messed up Jim's session completely. Well, they came out and said, look, just go ahead and go to lunch. We'll pick up, we'll pick up at a later date. So everybody goes back in to get their things that they left. And Jim went back in to get his laptop and ended up teaching through lunch into the next session. I've never seen guys miss lunch. I mean, I'm not a little boy. I don't miss food, but I stood in there for a good 25 minutes listening to him and watching him engage. So, and every one of the speakers that ISPC has is like that. Mr. Ron, I've sat through your leadership presentation. Mark, I've seen you teach. This is not, ISPC is not bringing in amateurs into this, into your building or whatever. They're bringing in the pros, the best of the best. And we've been fortunate that or I've been fortunate that I've gotten to learn so much underneath all of these people and work with them so closely.
Not everybody is meant to be a trainer and an instructor. I have been around some folks that have been really smart cookies, knew their job inside and out, could fix anything, could repair anything, could build anything, but they couldn't teach. There is a part of connecting with your students in your class and being able to come down to their level and read the room and ebb and flow with that. And it takes um, it takes a certain person to be able to convey and get that message across where the people walk away with the knowledge that they need to walk away with. And so, yeah, we have a lot of good ones here, and we're fortunate to have those. So Ron, tell us a little bit about the other two companies. So we have two other companies in this portfolio here, and we've touched on T&D PowerSkills a little, but kind of tell us. Obviously, we kind of know the T&D PowerSkills evolved from needing the line worker program. Maybe expand on that a little bit, and then kind of where did SMI come from?
T&D PowerSkills began its development shortly after ISPC was formed in 2004, and by 2007, we were ready to introduce an instructor-led program of 4 years to the industry, which we did. And so that program initially was created off of some of the best program material I could find in the 10 years prior to 2004. And that was brought together and introduced to the industry. And as I expect any new introduction of training material, product, etc., kind of has a slow start and begins to slowly move and be accepted by the industry. The rationale behind the training program material that became T&D PowerSkills was standardization. The thing that I saw in the industry very quickly was that nobody could agree on truly what a journeyman lineman needed to know and what a journeyman lineman could be able to do. So somewhere along the line, we had to identify a standard, if you will, of what we were going to train to. And that became an acknowledgement of the competencies. And that's where the 191 line worker competencies came in as a foundation for the development of the material that became T&D PowerSkills. 2007, the instructor-led aspect of the material was introduced as a package or as individual 78 units of a 4-year program could be acquired individually, individual units of the 78 or the entire package. We saw quickly, and Kenneth Pardue, who's now T&D PowerSkills Vice President and General Manager, saw very quickly that the training industry per se was moving toward online offerings. And he began working on a learning management system pretty quickly after 2007. And by 2011, had developed an LMS, an online learning management system that allowed the T&D PowerSkills program material to be accessed online. And that was a momentous occasion for us, and has certainly become one of the preferred ways of taking delivery of the material is online through the learning management system that Ken and his staff have developed and continue to hone and develop going forward, which I think will just be a perpetual thing.
I'm a fan of it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the T&D PowerSkills side of things, and the mission statement of T&D PowerSkills is we're looking and hoping and working toward T&D PowerSkills becoming the standard in the industry to train power line workers, and we've gone a long way toward that. Safety Management International, SMI, came along just a few years ago as we begin to recognize that there might be other areas in the industry that we were not serving. And so Safety Management International was created in 2020, as I recall, right before COVID hit, which is a great timing on
Coincidence? I
my
think
part.
not.
Created in January of 2020 to do a couple of things. First of all, we recognized that both T&D PowerSkills and ISPC needed more administrative support than they were getting. And so SMI took up that job of being the administrative arm for the two operating companies, T&D PowerSkills and ISPC, to take away basically the concerns about business, running a business, the accounting, the insurance, the banking, the finance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to pull that away from the operating companies, allowing them to focus strictly on what they do best out there in the industry, ISPC, T&D PowerSkills. And SMI would handle the business aspects for those two companies. But secondarily, then to begin to look at other things that we could be doing in the industry that we were not. One of those became pretty quickly the development of the conference that Jerry and Mark are talking about. And now we're approaching our fourth industry conference and trade show that will be in San Antonio in late February that SMI produces for the two operating companies. And then SMI is involved in emergency management issues and some other things that the other two operating companies just doesn't make sense for them to be looking at. So that's kind of a quick summary of the three companies there.
At the other, and I think we talked, earlier this year at our annual meeting that, we're only going to be successful as all of us, right? So we all bring a very important part to the table, and those need to mesh well together. So
you're here. I agree.
Well, I think the last question, at least I have, Ron, is kind of so. Obviously, we've survived COVID as a company. It was a struggle at some points, and I don't know that we're 100% back, but I think we're going in a very positive direction. But so what's the vision and what's the prognosis for the future? Where do you see things going, or where do you want things to go, and kind of what's the outlook for the next couple of years? Where do you kind of see this ship going?
Well, I think the outlook is very promising. I believe the industry continues to accept, appreciate, push forward things that make their workers safer in their jobs. And that's no more important to any one worker than to our line workers in the industry. We're certainly seeing some of the effects of that as injury rates go down, fatalities go down in our industry, and so on. But obviously, we're not there yet. If one line worker dies from injuries received because of lack of training and safety, our job's not done. And it continues to be a critically important thing in the industry uh, like I say, I am grateful that uh, leaders in our industry, managers, owners, continue to see safety as a paramount mission within their own companies. And the more they do, the more they recognize that, the more they're going to reach out to ISPC, T&D PowerSkills to help them achieve those safety goals that they have. So more of the same. We're looking at an industry that increasingly is accepting us and what we do, both ISPC and T&D PowerSkills. So leveraging those relationships. And Mark, as you've said, frankly, with both of our operating companies, we're interested in partnerships. Our best work can be done over time with people, not a one-time event or a one-time sell of a training unit or whatever that might be. If we're partners with our clients and their organizations over time, that's where our best work is done. So we certainly want to see more of that as we move forward. And very proud of what we've done and where we are. We have survived COVID. It was financially a blow to every one of our companies, but we've made it through. And again, the future looks promising for all of us.
Great. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think I think we have things are really looking up. We have a lot of stuff in the mixing bowl, and I couldn't agree more. I really feel that way. That if we can develop some really good partnerships with our customers, that's where we can support them and do the best for them, and they're going to get the best results out of it. So,
agreed.
Ron, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with us today. It's really appreciated. We know you're busy, but we really wanted to set the stage here and kind of understand where this whole thing came from and why and kind of what it's about and where it's going and kind of just the makeup of our organization so that everybody can kind of understand that going forward. We'll build on this. And
thank you so much for the opportunity. I think these podcasts are really important addition to our getting the message out there.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking forward to this. This is number 2. I'm hoping sometime down the road, maybe we're sitting on number 200 or something like that. So we'll see how things go, see how people like them, and see how they tune into them. But I think we can bring a lot of positive aspects through this podcast and giving people the opportunities to communicate with us. So.
Hey, before we cut out, guys, we got to mention our sponsor one more time, T&D PowerSkills. Take back control of your training message, your delivery, and your cost. And guys, learn more about T&D PowerSkills, how they can help you with their proven training solutions. You can go to tdpowerskills.com. That's tdpowerskills.com. Take back control of your training message, delivery, and cost. And in closing, I do have to tell you, the views and opinions shared in this podcast are the personal viewpoints of the participants and may not necessarily reflect the stance of the Institute in Safety and Powerline Construction and its staff. It is highly advised you consult your company management before implementing any actions or policies that we talked about in today's podcast. So, got to talk about the legal stuff. And until then, if we don't see you at the conference, we'll see you virtually, hopefully, at the conference, or you'll hear us at the conference, the TD Trainers Conference. Find out more about it, tdtrainersconf.com. If you want to, you can always go to ISPC's website, ispconline.com. Find out how to become a member there, what ISPC offers. Go to T&D PowerSkills website, tdpowerskills.com again. Look, guys, feel free. you can always get in touch with somebody at our companies. You'd be surprised how easy we are to contact. So thank y'all for hanging out with us at Tailboard Talks, episode number 2. It's been a blast.
Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ronald.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And we'll see everybody from the conference. So look forward to seeing you if you're going to be there. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.